week of the IXTF Community Design Challenges, or the Designorama, or the Design Jams. This week we'll be focusing on exploring tools, and this will be good for you if maybe there's some features you wanted to try out, some concepts in these tools that maybe just haven't given yourself an opportunity to. Maybe there's something you're trying to figure out how to do, and you know the tool can do it, but you don't have experience with it yet. Or maybe there's just a handful of things you've seen other people do you want to apply to your design. So this is a great opportunity to do that. Most of these will be, this is a good split between digital tools, so just learning to do prototyping in your favorite tool, but also some conceptual things like building color palettes or using user flows. As usual, try focusing on an industry or a company where you would like to work or contract. This will help you grow an understanding of that company, the space they live in. When the time comes to talk with people there, you'll speak from experience. And at the end of the day, you'll have something fun potentially to show them as a primary portfolio piece, or at least a supportive one, sort of a fun, hey, look what I did for your company way back when or recently. And, the other aspect of this is just to keep focusing on supporting skills as you are capturing insights and producing output. So how you visually communicate what you've done, how you practice storytelling. Often your output will be what you produce and the supporting content to help you convey the information. So, think about who you would be communicating to as you build this. Some of it is just going to be folks in the Discord participating in this activity, with us, but in the future, you'll have to articulate this to other people. Maybe it's product owners, project managers, design peers, or other design hiring managers. So it's a good opportunity to sort of get in those first few rounds of practice and communication and grow those skills. So without much further, here are the 5. So number 1 is to learn and apply a new design tool feature. And here I would stretch yourself. If there is something that you need to learn how to do in order to make your life better, maybe it's something you're trying to grow into. So maybe you want to grow into building design systems, the component aspects of different prototyping tools may be good to grow your experience in. So how to build nested components and how to manipulate them and what it's like for someone to actually use your component library. If you haven't done a lot of that, this may be a good place to start. The auto layouts and any complex interactions, maybe you have to do very highly media rich experiences. Maybe you need to work with some more advanced aspects of animation or sort of striking visual communication. But whatever it is, pick something that really speaks to where you want to go or what company or industry you'd like to work for and move in that direction. You don't want to build a lot of flashy, highly graphic things for maybe really intense data applications. But if you're hoping to move into building interactive media for the movie industry, maybe you do need that. So just think about that. And there's a good comprehensive guide for UX and UI design tools that will talk through some options that are good contemporary tools. The second one is design a functional color palette. So this one says to pick a color palette inspired by your favorite movie scene while considering some accessibility standards. And just apply that to a basic UI element. You find some UI element where you can help the UI element shine through the color palette that you produce, but don't necessarily go into building a whole site unless you would really like to. So a navigation bar is a good opportunity. Maybe a card, like some sort of communication card, or a form would be an interesting thing to do. And I provided 2 resources here. One is talking about best practices for UI color palettes in 2025. The other one is talking about sort of a refresher on color theory. If you've never looked into color theory, it'd be a good place to start and learn a little bit. Number 3 is structure a responsive grid system. So design a responsive grid system for a landing page. And then, consider all these options: breakpoints, column spacing, content hierarchy. Annotate why you made the decisions you did. And for this, it may actually be good to find a some sort of content you'd like to communicate, because that would help articulate why you did what you did. You could also go find a site that maybe doesn't do responsiveness like you think it should be done, and you can redesign that. But either way, think about a responsive grid system or a responsive system, and try to produce something that you feel is more meaningful. Number 4 here is prototype and interactions. This is relatively straightforward, and this could tie a little bit into the first one, but find some interaction maybe you'd like to learn, or maybe one you'd like to explore. I know, sometimes it's fun to think, well, what if I could create this interaction that worked this specific way, and try it out. And honestly, you don't necessarily need to work in a prototyping tool. You could also, if you're capable, you could work in HTML, CSS, JavaScript, jQuery, other libraries to build this interaction. But definitely do what helps you stay in scope with your schedule. If you want to focus more on surface design, you can employ one of those techniques such as role-playing, improv, to prototype an experience that you've designed. So that'd be another way to do it. If you're going to submit that, you most likely will have to record a video of it to show it off and let us all see the great work you've done. But it could be something fun to do. And provided some prototyping resources here, and you can check them out and see if they're helpful. And the last one is to map a user flow. Now this says choose a digital experience. If you want to map a user flow for a non-digital or a hybrid experience, you can do that. But I would say you just get the diagram down, think about the key decision points, the interaction, friction areas, and then maybe go so far as to compare it to a competitor's flow for insights. Say, hey, here's how our competitor applies or has people approach a particular task. Here's how we're thinking about doing it, and here's why we think there are improvements, and here's where we think the improvements are. So I hope this is helpful in priming you for week 2. This should be a fun one, I think, partly because these tasks are a little bit more compartmentalized. They're not necessarily tied together. So if you really wanted to, you could dive into one and not worry so much about the rest and worry about the complexities of tying together. But either way, this should be a nice, fun, relatively light week if you just want to get warmed up. And thank you, as always, for participating in our jams.